So you've been traveling for the last couple weeks, pretty much throughout Eastern Europe, or where did you go exactly?
It was a Dennis Prager riverboat cruise down the Danube. So there's
Ah,
125 Dennis Prager listeners, all on a riverboat cruise. We started in Budapest, Hungary, ended up in Bucharest, Romania,
wow.
and then took a few days to get home due to flight delays and cancellations and so forth. But if it was a wonderful trip
Hmm.
and learned a lot about Eastern and Central Europe. Boy, they live a very different life. So all of these countries, they start to blend in together, but what they have in common is wars, destruction, communism,
Hmm.
and now fighting for freedom in many of these countries, especially in Hungary, where they've got a leader in Viktor Orban who is hated by the left and often compared to Donald Trump, called all kinds of horrible names. Meanwhile, they are a free country living their best lives after pretty much being destroyed by communism and Nazi Germany before that, and now they're a freedom loving people in Hungarian.
Compare it to the U.S. You're a doctor. We've talked about it. We've talked about, we're pretty critical on certain things, especially that takes place here in the U.S. But anything that you maybe took away from
Yeah,
your travels out there?
for sure. We spent a lot of time walking and traveling and bike riding and interacting with the people of the various countries, which is the best part. Almost all of them speak pretty good English. They learn English in school.
Mm.
So they're always happy to converse, especially with Americans. What you see over there is a lack of obesity. You don't see tons of fat people walking around like you do everywhere here in the United States. They eat very differently there. It's a much more farm to table kind of situation. They don't have ginormous refrigerators that they fill up with 3 weeks of food. The refrigerators are rather small. They go shopping almost every day or every other day
Interesting.
to some local place where the produce is grown locally, where the meat is slaughtered and produced organically.
Yeah.
So they eat very different than we do here. We eat to live, and rather we live to eat. It's part of our culture. It's part of our entertainment.
Hmm.
Whereas there, they eat as just part of a nutrient lifestyle, and they're often spending a lot more time outdoors than we are. And it's just so interesting when you sit in some of the squares and watch people walk by. It's very rare that you see unhealthy, obese people. If you go to a local mall here and sit and just watch people walk by, it's the norm that you see unhealthy, obese people, and you just don't see that in Europe nearly as much as you do here in the United States.
No
Now,
nachos.
we've tried to import a lot of that because there are McDonald's and Starbucks and so forth everywhere. But I'll tell you, the McDonald's and the like are mostly frequented by American and Western tourists, not by the locals. And so, despite our best effort to pollute them with our unhealthy food, um, mostly they say no, thank you. And for them, eating is, it's like a joyful occurrence where they'll sit outside in a cafe for hours at a time, sipping coffee or a glass of wine, eating healthy food,
Yeah.
as opposed to just shoveling down unhealthy food like we do here in the United States.